Okay, so I'm a compliance consultant, nobody's favorite person. Work in financial services, keeping IFAs, mortgage and insurance brokers in line in a nice way, in a nice and practical way. So largely my business is me working on my own. And yeah, it's quite busy. There's lots of repetitive jobs, lots of bits and pieces that need somebody to really give them their full attention. And that is where Resource Worldwide came in. I was so glad to find out about them. It's enabled me to expand the business without killing myself. So I was talking to a guy who was actually running 7 businesses, and there was only him actually in the UK running these businesses. He was the sole director in all of them. And I'm like, "How are you doing that? I'm struggling with one." So he said, "Well, I've got all these people from Resource Worldwide working for me in the Philippines who do this, this, and this." And so I thought, and yes, he gave me your contact details. So there I was, like a moth to a flame. It was, filling things in, doing these routine jobs, doing my bookkeeping, doing all the admin, sorting out mailing lists and putting updates into all these different pieces of software. And yeah, it was all these routine tasks. So the challenge was picking the tasks that didn't need me. Things like creating draft invoices and yeah, there were multiple tasks, preparing mail shots, updating mailing lists, tagging things, formatting documents. And the more I thought about it after talking to you, the more this list grew. And so you gave me trusty Leslie, who now does all that, and it is lovely. So I took your advice and made Loom videos. And I get feedback from Leslie all the time on what's the best way to show people. So when I got someone else, I used Leslie's feedback. And she told me to make videos of what I want, make little crib sheets and things. And this has worked really well. So my business has got itself standard operating procedures just on the back of me taking someone on and say, "Will you take all this admin away from me?" So yes, I delved further and now have a file checker colleague. And this lady has worked with Australian IFAs. And yeah, we talk a lot. It's a different setup from my personal assistants. This is like a colleague, and we discuss compliance, we discuss the way advisors are looking at cases, we discuss the research, the presentation of the file. And yeah, she's got really good instincts. It's like having a second me to talk to about things. Is working really well. Able to churn these out much cheaper, which is what my clients need, because paying me to do all of the audit work, it's prohibitively expensive. So we've made it bargainous. We can do lots of file audits. It's still got me in there, but I've created a mini me to do a lot of the legwork. Well, it's the education level and experience, and also the proximity of Australia and the fact that people have worked in Australia, which is very similar. It's what our regime is based on. That was enormously helpful. The other thing that has really helped is the use of artificial intelligence. So, although Chris, my file checker, isn't really familiar with UK law, customs, and UK financial services and the FCA handbook, she's got an interpreter at her fingertips with chat. So we've set up a team chat which interrogates legal sources only. No social media allowed. It interrogates the FCA handbook. It provides the references. So if she's not sure if something's been done right, that can be her first port of call. I use it as well because the FCA handbook has got a terrible search facility. You can't find anything in it. In fact, I think chat struggles sometimes. But if I get AI to examine it and then go in, at least I'm in the right place. And this has proved very useful, and it's improving on a day by day basis. So having someone else to mess around instructing chat is also a big boon. Has helped me to employ someone who's maybe not so familiar with the regime. So I just remember to tell her about weird UK sayings and customs. And she's learned all about UK probate law, wills, intestacy, trusts, and all these things that come with it just through using chat. And then she'll ask me about it. And so we've found a way of making it really easy. Yes, this has been a good thing, especially with Chris, because she has more responsibility. So I got Chris to design her own space in Dropbox, her own procedures, her own templates, and then we worked on them together. But she's been great as a person to bounce ideas off as well. So we've made a pretty slick system, we think. And Leslie's the same, actually. I don't speak to Leslie very often. She works weird hours for me. But again, I can ask her and say, do you prefer this or this? And it's really interesting to get the feedback from them. Yeah. So, but yeah, great collaborative effort. And they both do a fantastic job. No, not really. Prohibitively expensive to get someone in the UK, and also a lack of a talent pool. I did have some temps, but they were sort of rugby colleagues, rugby fellow players who were between jobs. And a couple of them did work for me just on a temporary basis while they were looking for, proper work. But it was too expensive, really. I couldn't pay them what they were worth. So they did these odd jobs. And I just thought it would be so nice to have someone to do some of these projects. But it's really cost prohibitive, and also finding someone that you can trust is very hard. In a previous role, a previous life, I used to employ people, and from the bottom to the top, it was, especially at the bottom, it was very hard getting good recruits in. To work experience once who, instead of putting the files away, for some reason put them on the roof. No, not really. Prohibitively expensive to get someone in the UK, and also a lack of a talent pool. I did I did have some temps, but they were sort of rugby colleagues, rugby fellow players who were between jobs. And a couple of them did work for me just on a temporary basis while they were looking for, proper work. But it was too expensive, really. I couldn't pay them what they were worth. So they did these odd jobs. And I just thought it would be so nice to have someone to do some of these projects. But it's really cost prohibitive, and also finding someone that you can trust is very hard. In a previous role, a previous life, I used to employ people, and from the bottom to the top, it was, especially at the bottom, it was very hard getting good recruits in. I mean, we had a work experience once who, instead of putting the files away, for some reason put them on the roof. That's extreme. Yes, it is extreme, but this is the sort of, if this can happen, this is the sort of thing that was worrying. So, and also having a backup in that, if I don't know, if Leslie decided to move on, at least I know I can come to you and say, I need another Leslie. I'd actually worked with someone in the Philippines once before, just very briefly. It was a transcription job where I dictated stuff and she wrote it. The only real downside to it was I had to pay her in dollars, and the whole thing was complicated. So I was kind of familiar with the concept. But yeah, the fact that you've got somewhere referencing, that you narrow the interviews down to 2 or 3 people, so very helpful. And of course, the recommendation that I had from this guy who was clearly successfully running businesses, I checked you out. You looked okay. And yes, the work ethic of Leslie just said it all. She's so polite. She checks things. She's just so caring about the whole job. It was really refreshing. And I set her up with the Dropbox and all the security arrangements, and no issues at all with that. So having experienced that, taking Chris on to do this role where there is more data protection and issues and things, I was confident that this would work out. And she does indeed work very well, and we speak at least 3 times a week. I say probably since Leslie started, the business has probably nearly doubled in size. Wow. Which means I'm getting twice as much done. And certainly I'm probably getting 3 times as many file audits done, and actually having some time to myself and not working in the evenings, which was where we ended up with file auditing. So yes, it's basically given me a better lifestyle in my business. That is the primary thing. And the other thing is I haven't actually put my prices up for, I think it's over 10 years now, which seems a little bit remiss in some ways. But in other ways, what I've been able to do with the help of the girls is to work a lot smarter. So I can give my clients the benefit of not having suffered huge amounts of inflation. You wouldn't think so to hear them moaning about invoices, but I have actually, I'm now looking pretty cheap. 1 or 2 things I've put up, things like following the pandemic, I realized that everybody was okay with Zooming. And so I put up the price of actual visits because they're very disruptive to getting things done, although I enjoy them. So yeah, but mainly I've managed to hold my prices, work smarter, and have more free time to myself. So I think the first thing to do is to properly plan your strategy for employing anyone. I've seen a lot of people employ people in person in the office and then spend so little time showing them what to do or getting the wrong caliber of person who can't do it. If you only get someone from Resource Worldwide to train your other people, it would be worth it. The key thing to get over it is the distance thing. The time zone hasn't been prohibitive at all because these people want to work. They're prepared to work in the evenings. Chris works all evening so that we're actually working at the same time. So the time difference has not been a barrier at all for either of them. And with Leslie, it's lovely to get up in the morning and find that all my admin's been sorted out. But yes, I just try it. And when you do try it, just prepare a bit for it so you do it properly. My biggest fear was not getting my act together to show Leslie how to do things. And once I'd cracked that, I said, don't be mean, buy Loom or something like that, have Zoom calls, use the internet, and just don't be afraid of it because you can have a meaningful relationship with someone without having met them. And just to take that back in time, I have one of my very first clients from 20 years ago, dare I say, is someone who responded to a thing called a fax blast. And I have still not managed to meet this guy, but he is still a client 20 years later. We sometimes talk on the phone, but I've never even seen him. So remote relationships do work. Slight concept about this guy. I'd recognize his voice anywhere. But yes, it's possible to have a meaningful remote relationship if you put the effort in. That actually was part of the value add for me. The fact that you guided me as to how I go about this, how to decide what tasks, how to describe the person that I needed and the role I wanted them to do. I don't think I'd have got there on my own at all. So that's great value add. Yes, which has worked a treat. Not that I'm actually doing any marketing. This was for another business, but at least I've got time to think about that other business now.
Yeah.
Which I didn't have before.